All right, everybody. My name is Nate Manahan. I'm here in Indianapolis, Indiana, where we are going to go to a high five, which we have not done in over, I think, 4 weeks. Labor Day, travel, all the kinds of stuff that goes on. But the high five is only, well, it's pretty boring if it's just me. That's why we have the best stars in payments on the left-hand side, coming from Glenwood Springs, weighing in at 125 pounds. I don't really know what he weighs in, but we're going with that today because I'm not guessing. Mr. Danny Shard. They would call him the mighty man, Danny Shard, living up in the mountains of Glenwood Springs. I don't know. I'm trying to make this up as I go. Danny Shard, how are you? I'm going to come up with I should create these ahead of time. How are you, Danny?
I'm good, Nate. You're reaching for sure. It is beautiful weather right now in Colorado. Had a win this weekend with the Broncos and went to that game Sunday night. Tough game, but a hard fought win. Final score 11-10. If anybody has actually witnessed a game where you score 11 points and the opposing team scores 10 points, I'd love to hear about it because I don't think it exists. But,
I haven't. It was called a game called baseball. And they laid down a bunt to score on a squeeze play at the end to make it 11-10. Somehow you had Russell Wilson throwing a touchdown to make it 11-10. I'm not quite sure how that works. But
yeah, pretty tough.
Hey, it's fun. You got the win. A win is a win, right? And on the right-hand side, or the center of the screen, I'm the right-hand side, the man who, the Noles are undefeated going into a huge game against Wake Forest, 2 ranked teams coming against each other, Mr. Brian Linke. Brian, are you going to score more than 11 points as the Florida State Seminoles this week?
I'm thinking 11. I'll bet the over on that, Nate. Yeah. I told Danny this the other day. I actually was at a Michigan game in Ann Arbor. That Michigan 5, Purdue nothing. Okay, and I witnessed that game. It was brutal, but anyway, you can Google it because it happened.
Yeah, that was back. That's the Bo Schembechler days. I think I remember that game. I was like my early years of fandom and going into that. And
no. Bo Schembechler wasn't the coach then.
Yes, he was. Those are.
No. I think it had to be like Gary Moeller or something like that.
Well, it was no longer in Gary Moeller because I know, yeah. But I do remember a 5-0
Schembechler. Wasn't that long ago.
Well, Bo was still 87.
Amani Toomer caught a touchdown for Michigan. He didn't play for Bo Schembechler.
Okay, that was probably Gary Moeller into Lloyd Carr, maybe. Yeah, something like that.
Thank you.
All right. First thing I want to cover. We haven't talked on a high five since we got back from California. We had an incredible event where we had lots of our partners. In fact, I was just talking to one of our partners and one of our vendor partners, Sean from ChargeZoom, just earlier today. Brian Linke, would you describe the event that we had on Tuesday night, the day after Labor Day in Huntington Beach?
Well, I will say this. It was one of the better events, if not the best event that we've had, Nate, and that's a credit to you. It was extremely well organized. We had a lot of partners there. We had live music, which I think is a first.
Yep.
To my knowledge, think back and I think that was a first. Food was good, very organized. Like I said, open bar, drink list with my name on it. I mean, how bad was it? So yeah, no, it was really good. And I actually got a partner who we're dealing with today, who was there, who's kind of like dropped off the face of the earth and wants to get back in. I hooked up with him, and he's talking to Jenny Rickle right now, and getting him trained back up. And it was fun. It was good. The setting was amazing, overlooking the Pacific Ocean. So kudos to you, Nate.
Well, I wasn't so much kudos. Just it's how much fun it is to get with our partners, to be face to face, to be in person, and we don't get to do that often enough. We're going to have another event, hopefully before the next acquiring show. We usually tie these to the acquiring show, but the next one's not till March. But we'll keep you up. But I mean, Danny, when you're sitting on the Pacific Ocean, there are very few things that can. We can't double that and go someplace else. That was just an experience. It was a lot of fun. But the most fun was that we had so many partners talking and engaging. In fact, I just sent over an email to Jason Lee of a partner that's connecting with ChargeZoom and doing things. And that happens, we try and work, and you can sign up for a ChargeZoom training today, but it happens so much better when you're in person, right?
No, it really does. And I mean, we the buzz that it created even after the event, right? I've talked to so many partners over the last 2 weeks that obviously we're just really excited to be able to see us and kind of put the face to the name that they've worked with for some time. So it's just, it creates kind of it gives us, I guess, more momentum as we go into the later part of this year, being able to get in the room with our partners and have our partners get to meet the vendors that they work with or that they hear us promoting so often. It creates a really good vibe and makes everybody feel good going into the later part of the year. And then, you throw a Brian Linke cocktail on top of that, you really can't lose.
It was the star of the show, and doing a Brian Linke cocktail down the Papertech Ice Luge. Look for that video coming later this week on an email, I think Wednesday or Thursday. So you can catch that in one of our emails. But I will say those who attempted the Ice Luge, that was pretty impressive on the Wave Papertech Ice Luge. That was an impressive thing, right, Brian? Did you do it? Did you do the Ice Luge?
I did.
I did.
Oh, man, I need to get video evidence. I did not see you do it. I have a couple other of our partners using the Ice Luge, but I need to get video evidence of that.
At least I think I did. Maybe I did.
Memory's a little dated. I will also say the next day, Danny, being the professional who sacrifices for our partners to take them to places that he would never want to go, took 2 foursomes to this little slum golf course called Pelican Hills south of Huntington Beach and right there on the Pacific Ocean. Like I said, he was slumming it. Danny, thank you for serving our partners and taking them to someplace you never wanted to go.
Yeah, it was tough. This job is about sacrifice, for the greater good. And, we got to do the things that our partners want to do. And that's just amazing golf courses. And it's not something that I would have chosen, but, you got to get out of your bubble. You got to get out of your shell. And, I think they really enjoyed themselves.
So look for the next event. I don't know when for sure it's going to be, but I promise you that there will be sacrifices made. We will take you to the places you want to go, and Brian and Danny will make sure that they sacrifice and go to those hard places, like going to Pelican Hill Golf Course or going to an LA Rams first game of the NFL season or sitting and looking at the Pacific Ocean. We will make sure to sacrifice ourselves that way. But let me now transition into a short topic. We just have 2 things to talk about today as we finish up something that I prepared multiple weeks ago. My multiple topics of turning no into yes. You can watch the first 2 episodes. We have 2 things that you should do in order to turn no into yes. In order to do that, and the number 6th thing that you should do is you should follow up. That's one of the things I'm working on right now. In fact, I was just shipping a couple more boxes on following up with some of our partners that we met out in California. But follow up is one of the things I think our partners and I would, and when I'm in your shoes and I struggle at it too, follow up. We have to put systems in place to make sure we're following up with the people that when they say no to us, or even when they say yes, our follow-up is important. Brian, I'm going to guess that that's something that you weren't good at and became really good at. Am I correct?
Well, yes. And I think everybody, I'm not so sure it's just me. I think it's
not you. I wasn't throwing you under the bus. You're right. Yeah. So.
Was that?
Yeah, it's not just you. It's everybody. But I think we all learn.
I think it's something that's learned, because I think you go out, you make a call, you have let's just say you get a good rapport with the person and you hit it off, and hey, you know what, I'll get back with you, and then then life happens, and you get more appointments, and your day gets busier and busier and busier. Next thing you know, it's next week, and you haven't talked back to the person, and when you call them back, they've already started processing with somebody else, or they've changed their mind. And I think once you get a couple of those slaps in the face, or you get slapped down like that, like, well, wait a minute, I thought I had a really good relationship with that guy. Well, you know what though, if you don't follow up and you don't stay on top of it, and then you lose a deal, you lose 2, you lose 3. For me, it wouldn't take 3. It would take, if I lose 1, then you kind of have to take a step back and say, hey, what did I do wrong there? Because you thought for sure it was a slam dunk, which is, as we all know, there's really no such thing as a slam dunk. And if you don't follow up with somebody, that's when you get punched in the mouth.
Danny, I was listening to one of our great partners that works with us there in Long Island, and some of what they were posting on their Instagram channel. And they were talking specifically about following up after someone says, hey, well, I'm in a contract for X amount of months. Come back and talk to me then. And they were talking about what things they could do to follow up. And having a strategy and a plan of how you're going to follow up, I think makes you accountable, but also gives you, hey, this is what, and it may change, and, you grow at it, you get better at it, like Brian was talking. But I mean, I think a lot of our partners, I think don't have that plan. And I think helpful to have that plan. This is how I'm going to do 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, 6 months. And right when you walk out, how I'm going to follow up, especially when they said no to you. What are some of the things you've heard about our partners doing some of those follow-up things to make sure they have a plan to follow up with these merchants that they're reaching out to that maybe said no or said, hey, maybe later?
Yeah, I mean, the plan is not to follow up at that time, right? It's continue to develop your relationship with the merchant until that time comes, right? So if they say, I've got a contract in 3 months, come back to me then, that's where you should take the action of positioning yourself and the merchant to sign on the line, which is dotted the day that contract is up, right? I use Brian Linke's term there because I love it. And it's, basically positioning yourself with that merchant within that follow-up stage of, you're going to go with me on this date. Here's what we need. Let's give us some time to move forward. I mean, it really is all about how you present yourself during the follow-up, and not just, okay, I'll reach back out to them in 90 days. Well, you reach back out to them in 90 days, somebody else in between you and them in that time period reached out to them and had this process, and they already set up and pulled the trigger and are with somebody else whenever that contract was up. So you got to do that. And I think the art of the follow-up is something that's not focused on enough, right? I was speaking to one of our partners who is feet to the street doing a couple hundred of presentations a month. And he rarely follows up with merchants that don't sign up with him because he's so focused on the front end, right? And going to this neighborhood, going to this area of the city, and knocking on doors and doing presentations. And if they don't move forward, understand, on to the next one. Where I see that as a huge opportunity, that the fact that he's made a presentation, he's gotten himself in front of them, so now they're familiar with him. Most of them will probably remember his name because he's that good at what he does, that following up with them a month later, 60 days later, 2 weeks later, whatever it is something that he should absolutely be doing, because he's already taken down that barrier of the introduction, right? So they already know who he is and what he's about, but staying on their radar is so important. A lot of this business too is being in the right place at the right time, right? So the more that you follow up and you stay on their radar, the better chances of you getting that business at some point, right? But the other art of the follow-up is not just about the acquisition process and getting these merchants to sign up with you. I mean, this is where Brian Linke is really good, is staying in touch with current merchants, right? Following up with your customers, and developing that type of relationship to where you're adding so much more value than a good price and a good piece of equipment. You're adding an entire package, and they're not going to get anything like they've experienced with you and the service that you have. And a lot of that's going to come from you following up and staying in touch with them and staying engaged with your merchant. So follow up a lot of different ways: current merchants, potential merchants, existing merchants, and even merchants that may have canceled your services. Continue to follow up, because you'll be surprised what you get out of it.
And there's multiple ways to follow up. You don't have to just follow up through phone call, but you can schedule emails or put them on, get your name in front of them. You can send them text messages. You can do videos. There's more ways now than ever to connect and merge, what your follow-up was before with the new ways people communicate. If they're on TikTok, then be on TikTok. If they're, however those are, and you're selling, there's lots of ways to make those connections so that when it comes front of mind, or they then want to make a change, they didn't want to make a change when you're with them, turning that no into yes becomes something that you can do. If you want to talk about ideas, I was just talking to John yesterday, one of our partners in Texas, and he was saying, look, you can automate so many of these pieces so that people that are hearing from you from emails, voicemail drops, without being annoying. There's ways to do it that work really well. There's ways to send text messages that are seeing that your name come top of mind, and they think, hey, I do want to make a change. And making yourself, especially when you're involved in a community, the follow-up can simply be becoming a patron of what they do. If this was a restaurant that you walked in and this is your community, stopping in every couple of months and serving them, or making sure you give them a review on their Yelp or Google reviews, all kinds of things that are true parts of follow-up that can make you come top of mind. Now for our last thing, know when to move on. And one of my favorite, in fact, I was thinking we probably want to do another time. One of our favorite topics always is when to know when to fire a merchant when they're taking up too much time, too much of your energy, but also when to, when they've said no or they've said maybe, and just know when to move on. And Brian, what are some of the key things where you're like, man, this person probably is not worth the time and energy. This business is not worth the time and energy, and it's time to move on and, just, walk away. What are some things that you would think of that are things that would be signs that, hey, I just want to move on?
Well, I can tell you this. Back in the day when I had my shoebox with my index cards in them with January through December 1 through 31, once I made the notes and it filled up both sides of the card and I hadn't sold them anything, it was time to move on. So it was like, it's a dog chasing its own tail, right? You just keep on going around and around and around. And, everybody's different, but you have to put a timeline on it, right? If they give you any, sense of hope, yeah, okay, you keep on going. But, after a while, it's, with me, it was with both sides of the index card. Once the index card was filled up, okay, the index card went into the back of the box just in case. And I stopped calling on that person. Maybe I dropped off a business card one day if I was just in the area. But both sides of the index card for me, Nate.
Danny, what about you? What are some of the things that you think sometimes, we probably lost money by taking too much time to win, and maybe we just need to move on, go find the next opportunity, the next presentation to make. What are some of the signs that it's time to just end the conversation and move on?
Gosh, there's way too many to name. Every merchant's different. All their business needs are different. Actually, this was one of the posts recently on one of the Facebook groups where, when's the right time to fire a customer? And some of them are kind of petty, which, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but they provided a lot of service for the merchant over the years, gave him a good rate. The merchant just canceled without notifying him and didn't even give him a chance. The merchant then tries to come back and they say, no, I don't want your business. I think that's a little overboard, but I think it kind of shows the merchant that, you're here to provide them with a service and, common courtesy goes both ways. So there's some of that's out there, but, I think that's one of the toughest decisions us as salespeople can make is when we realize that we're spending too much time with a merchant that is just simply not worth the return that we're getting. Right. And that could be because you've had to price them way too competitive. Maybe you've had to make a significant investment in the solution that they're using and you need to get a good return on that investment, but the profitability is way too tight and the service requirements are way overboard, right? The merchant just wants you to be there to run their payroll and to get their mail and to do everything for them every day. So, these are tough decisions for salespeople to make, and I don't think any of us do it lightly. In fact, I know a lot of us have merchants on our portfolio that we wish we could fire, and we might not be for a variety of reasons. But I don't necessarily think that there's a specific sign that's going to give you that. That's more of a gut feeling and a lot of different variables that are going to tell you when you need to do that. Well, hopefully it's not too much though.
Yeah. For sure. I think we probably wait too long sometimes to walk away or to say no.
Absolutely.
And so trying to figure out what that is for you, I think it's different for every person. Finding that, if you've spent what is equal to you filling up your side of both sides of the index card and that you spent all that time, and how much value do they give you if it's a, multiple $1 million account that's going 4% cash discount edge pricing versus an account that's 22,000 and going at 10 and 4. And so think through what, how much value are you willing to give to them because the value is coming back and because you're risking your time by giving your time to them, you're risking your next sale, your next opportunity. And you only have a finite amount of hours. Brian, unless Brian's created something that we get that extra 25th and 26th hour. Brian, any chance?
Well, no, but I think one of the things that we're not that we haven't talked about, I think it also depends on the what time in your career is it, right? So
yeah.
If you have a portfolio of 25, 30, 40, 50 merchants, and your residual is a decent number, for you because everybody else is because everybody's different. So if you're in that position to where you can be a little bit more flexible, I think you're a little bit more willing to fire a merchant, willing to walk away. The people that are just starting out, I think those are the people that it takes like, oh man, you know what? I just need a deal. I need a deal. Linky's all over me. I need a deal, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with that, with the timing of where you are in your career, where where you are financially in your life, and so I think that plays a pretty big role.
All right, as we close out, let me bring up the multiple points that we've made in this series. We have to know. I realize that we are all the way at the end here, and I'm not sure why that is. Know when to move on. That's what we're just studying. I was trying to go back. Hey, look at this. There we go. Follow up. Don't contradict. We talked about that. Don't contradict. Don't try to jump in and contradict what they're saying, and don't contradict yourself. Don't put yourself where you're lying. Preempt objections. We talked about that. We talked about knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. I'm going in reverse order. I meant to start at the beginning. Rethink your approach sometimes when you just, hey, if it didn't work this time, maybe there's another way you can present to them to be able to turn that no into yes. And last, you have to find out why. That's the first question, because you're going to have no doubt in yourself as we jump into this. So on that, that didn't go the way I wanted to. I had cool animations, but slides doesn't work the way I wanted to. But my point is this: you can turn no's into yeses. You can continue to grow your portfolio, and we're here to help you do that. As we close out, Mr. Brian Linke, as we close out this Tuesday, the last Tuesday of September. October is coming, this coming Saturday. We're ready. We're rolling. The fourth quarter is here. Brian Linke, how are you ready to help our partners make this the best fourth quarter ever? No matter what's happening with the British pound, no matter what's happening with, the things going on in the world, how are you going to help our partners have their best quarter ever?
Well, Nate, first of all, I think you need to slow down just a little bit. Okay, just friend to friend. Okay, slow down just a little bit. All right. There's no secret to this, right? It's no matter what time of the year it is, or what week of the year it is, what day of the year it is, what day of the month it is, whatever it is, it's get out there every day, get in front of people, and tell yourself you're going to make it the best quarter ever. But rather than just saying it, because those are just words, do something about it.
Brian Linke says do something. Danny Shard, what do you say?
I got to echo Brian Linke. I mean, get out there and do something about it. I'm not going to tell you to slow down, Nate, because I think we all fly by the seat of our pants in this business and on this show. It's there's no difference there. But all in all, I love this topic, and I think it's something that we need to continue talking about and helping everybody understand the value of themselves and the value that they bring to the merchant service business. So keep it up.
I say not only do I need to slow down, but I also need about three of me, because most people would not be a producer and host at the same time. But on behalf of Brian Linke, Danny Shard, and our High Five team here at Paprotech, we love you guys. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time on the High Five. High five, everybody.
Go get them.